Hello, everyone. Um, I honestly did not intend to make a video today. Uh, um, I, I was doing better, and then I um, did really bad yesterday, and today was wasn't going much better. I realized, I forgot to take my B vitamins. So, hey, when you take all of your supplements, you'll feel like a normal human being. Got it. um, but anyway, I really wasn't going to make a video because nothing was really like coming up, and then something came up. So, um, this one is parenting related, and I guess it would be dubbed "Why I Homeschool." Um, because literally with my 16-year-old today, uh, her assignment for history was the Roaring Twenties, and she's reading about it. And she doesn't like writing as much. She loves writing short story, fantasy, stuff like that. But, writing about history or books or, anything like that's not really her jam. And so for her English class right now, she's having to do a lot of writing that she doesn't love and reading too. And so for history, I figured, this is part of homeschooling is I can just do stuff with her orally. And I'm a big history nerd. That's my major from college. And so I really like history. And I honestly think most of what we're taught is a lie. But I like still analyzing and talking about and really trying to bring it into modern times. What correlate then to now. So hopefully you're not repeating the same mistakes. So we're talking about the 1920s and we're talking about Prohibition. And that leads into, by the end of the discussion, we are talking about being true to yourself, figuring out who you are and not being influenced by other people. So you go, how in the world do you get from 1920s Prohibition to New Age-ish, finding and being true to yourself, talking about the divine feminine, talking about the divine masculine, and all of that. And it's really interesting. So I'll take you on a quick little trip here. So we go from the 1920s and talking about Prohibition, and we go to the 1980s, talking about the war on drugs, and which has obviously continued. And then we get into COVID and stuff like that. And then this brings into Agenda 2030, things like that. And then we start talking about, she wants to know about all the gender stuff and everything. So we start talking about that. And we talk about, jabbies with that. We talk about the destroying the family unit, the bigger family unit, as well as the nuclear family. And then also just talking about the general confusion and how if you don't feel and know who you are, then perhaps it's going to be harder to relate to the divine feminine or the divine masculine, and how the feminine is the spiritual side of the earth plane and how the masculine is the physical side and how they have to work together. And talked a little bit about the yin yang symbol and things like that. And so this, what was supposed to be a very short discussion, ended up being, I think, over an hour and a half, at least an hour. And it's literally her interacting, asking questions, wanting to know my logic and thinking. And we ended up talking about her prom dresses. And I said, figuring out you is going to be like how you figured out your prom dresses. You knew for this year for prom, you wanted to be more princessy. Nobody said you have to do this. And I said, when you look at societal things, society will tell you things like, you need to do this. You need to, this is what it means to be a woman. A woman is thin. Well, at least this is for right now, currently. A woman needs to be thin and she needs to be blonde or generally along those lines. And, you need to shave your legs, you need to shave your armpits, you need to wear makeup. You need to wear short dresses. You need to show cleavage. Those are things that probably you need to do. Those go back to should statements. You should be doing this. Well, that's programming. So I challenged her first with decide what it means to be feminine for you. And your definition of feminine and mine are going to be different, as well as, somebody else, one of your friends or their parents or whatever. But you need to be true to your definition. I told her it's not unlike your friends picking their prom dress. If you're being influenced by their decisions, like, whether I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm transgender, I'm whatever, if you're letting them push and put that identity onto you, then you're not being necessarily true to yourself. And I'm not saying don't try on all the outfits, because whatever. I think that's part of finding ourselves and being ourselves, is finding what we're comfortable with. And it was really interesting when she was looking for prom dresses. When we went shopping the first time, she found the one. And it was a princess-ish dress, more like a Juliet kind of princess dress. And she really liked it, but we got back and you could just tell she didn't love it. And I said, being yourself, sometimes you're going to do something and it's going to feel right for a while. And then it's just not going to feel right anymore. It's going to feel icky and it's not you anymore. You've grown. Okay, you've grown. So what? Let's try on a new dress. We'll go dress shopping again. We'll return this dress, and wada boom, wada bang. We'll find the right dress for you. And she did. And she was really torn even the second time we went shopping between two dresses. But she knew in her mind, what she wanted was a princess dress, and one of the dresses would not be categorized as that. So she got her princess dress, and she wore a princess dress this year, and blah, blah, blah. And actually, the second dress that she wanted, I call it the Dragon Empress dress, because it's a badass dress. It looks amazing. And I said, it's okay that your idea of feminine one time is the princessy whatever, and then the next time it's this more badass, edgy dress. That's okay. The difference would be is if you looked at your friend's dress, and your friend's dress is, more or less spaghetti straps and a slit up the knee and stuff like that. And if you started comparing yourself to that and saying, I need to be that. And so, this is kind of where we ended up with, do whatever feels right to try on and try on these different things. But at the end of the day, if something doesn't feel comfortable, like I can remember as a teenager, I had a friend that was, she was trying to figure out if she was gay or not or whatever. And she really wanted me to be gay too. And I just kept trying to put on that outfit, but I wasn't that outfit. And, it finally got to the point where she was so pushy that I had to stop being friends with her, because that wasn't mean that I didn't want to become something that I was not. I knew that was not me. And so, at the end of the day, what I told my daughter is, you can either continue, you can be conforming to other people and what all this programming from society says that you have to do, or you can say, I'm going to do this because this makes me comfortable. And we did talk about, like, she said, well, shaving legs and stuff like that. She's like, it's more comfortable because you fit in. And I said, well, that's an aspect of that. And I said, you have to decide if your need to fit in and not stand out. I said, it's hard. I said, I honestly, folks, haven't shaved my legs in 10 years. And I'm going to say the first 3 or so years were really hard. And there's still sometimes I look down and I go, that's programming. And I'm choosing to look this way. And I know all the reasons why I choose to look this way. There's a reason I don't shave my armpits and things like that. And so, and I don't need those reasons validated by anybody else. I'm okay with that. I said, and that's what programming is. And so you have to constantly just keep reevaluating, why are you doing something? Is it because you really want it? And is it easier? Sometimes it is easier to just fit in and not follow your resonance, and acknowledge that. So literally in homeschooling, you can go from 1920s prohibition to finding and discovering you in the span of a couple hours and have a really interesting, engaging discussion with your kid. So that in hopes, as she's becoming an adult, she doesn't have to go through. I can distinctly remember being challenged for who I was around 14, 15, and slowly morphing into somebody I wasn't, to conform and to fit in. And then taking, another 5 years of kind of conforming and being miserable, and then spending probably the next 15 undoing all of that damage to get back. I'm closer now at 43 to who I was at 14 and 15 than any other point in my life. If I look at any other point in my life, the time in between from like 16, 17 onward, I wasn't really being true to myself. And probably in my 30s, I got a little more comfortable in myself and, started questioning some of the official narratives and things out there. And that slowly led me onto the path that I am now. And I think as a parent, I'd rather her just start off being her and not going through as much song and dance to be her. And so being able to encourage her of that. And then also, she said one of her friends is kind of struggling with identity and things like that. And helping her to be a friend that is supportive while also, protecting herself and saying, these might be things you want to look out for. I said, and remember, we go back to that idea of masculine and feminine. Your idea of masculine and feminine is going to be different. And I said, everybody has that masculine and feminine in them. And we talked a lot about society and how masculine's very strong. And, why is that? And so if you ask reasons why I homeschool, I get the best conversations with my kids. And I'm not going to say we have these conversations all the time, because we don't. But they're often enough. I don't think that's a conversation she'll ever forget. At least I hope not. And, I hope she'll look back and be like, wow, my mom was really helping to support me be myself and find myself and who I am. And it wasn't, and I kept saying, you can't go externally to find you. So people go to religion to find themselves, they go to other people to find themselves, the government to find themselves, and you just got to keep going in here, and whatever you're hearing, that's what you're hearing. And you have to start to trust that. So that's how 1920s prohibition can transfer into being true to yourself. And so, do I think that conversation would have happened if she was in public school? I don't know. We've had some really, a lot of times we'd have conversations in the car and things like that. And not just my oldest, my second and third kids too. My third daughter, she would talk the most about her past lives when we were in the car, generally. And I would And it's really hard to try to keep other kids, they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, no, 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 we're not going to do this. And just let her speak and let her feel comfortable speaking. Um, and, you know, those sorts of things were hard too. So, um, I think it's pretty cool that to have this opportunity that I can have such an amazing discussion with my kids. And so I guess this would be it's so cool to homeschool, but even if you're not homeschooling, know what your kids are doing and what's going on, just because you can have these really cool discussions. If you had asked me when I started talking about prohibition in the 1920s and if that would lead to a conversation about her being true to herself, I would have probably been like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But it did. And so I think if you can be an aware parent, and that wasn't even my intention at the start of the conversation, it the conversation just went there. And seeing those opportunities so that you are setting your kids up for success, um, I think a longer, more enjoyable life of where you know yourself, that's kind of successful. If they're not doing this rat race thing all the time, you know. Um, we even talked about that. Are you a slave if you're in the rat race or not? Are you a slave if you're wanting all of your needs taken care of and to feel safe? Some really cool conversations that you can have, and you have to be willing to let them happen. I could have been like, oh, I'm just not feeling good and I'm going to just sit in my chair. And instead, I was like, no, we really need to get on history here. So let's talk about history. Um, just be open to those conversations when they come up, because you're not always going to know when they come up. And when they do, see them, because I don't think most kids are getting exposed to all of this out in the world, generally speaking. Um, I really think it comes from parents that are going through um, enlightenment, I guess, um, and are kind of more aware. And if you can help your kids with that, then you're giving them that leg up, and um, you're making it easier for them. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to have traumas and things to work through, because they are, but they're just going to be more equipped earlier. Um, if I feel like if I had never kind of gotten off my path at 14 or 15, who knows what I would be doing now. And I'm okay with what I'm doing now, because that's just the way it was supposed to be. But I'm also really excited for my kids, that to be them as they're leaving us, if they even leave us. There's some programming. Anyway, so I don't even know what to title this video, but I hope it was helpful. At least as this is something that can be done. You can bring in um, awareness and enlightenment into unconventional conversations that may have a rather large impact for your kids. I hope you have a great day.